What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the official Third Age Reforged YouTube channel. My name is Jordan, also known as Jmonster. Thank you for joining me for another replay battle. Today I've got a 4-man FFA, because who doesn't love a good FFA battle once in a while, on a map that I have honestly never seen before. It's like this hilly, kind of mountainous region, and it's pretty damn interesting. There's going to be a lot of good tactics and that sort of thing that can be deployed because of the terrain. So without any further ado, let's get into the army comps, and then we can get into the battle itself. So the first army we're going to look at today is the Forces of the Woodland Realms, one of the new Elven factions in 0.9, in the 0.9 patch cycle, I should say. They are commanded by Token Sidon. They are bringing 1 unit of Elder Kingsguard, which is where the general is hanging out. So it's got a couple units of Elder Pathfinders, really nice shock cav that recently got a buff in 0.9, so they're not quite as atrocious, I would say, as they were in previous patch cycles. So now they definitely look the part, and they've got the power to back it up. He's also bringing a couple units of here in Ek, 1 here, 1 on the flank, and in the center he's got, you can already see them opening fire on a very unsuspecting enemy just across the field. 2 units of Hiri Bang heavy archers, and behind them he's got some Hine Dower, who are a light AP missile, like an ambush archer. They are quite good, but it is very easy to shoot these guys down with counter missile fire because of their light armor values. He's also got a unit of Elder Royal Council, which I believe is also an AP pick for the Elves. There are not very many AP archers in the game, but the Elven ones in particular, because of their high accuracy, are particularly deadly. So the Elder Royal Council make a really nice addition to the Elven skirmish line. And behind them, he's got, I believe, 3 units of Dirith, one of the new units in the 0.9 patch cycle that give the Elves a much-needed, reliable tar pit unit. They are actually very strong as well. I think they've got like 49 defense and like 20-something attack. So it's not easy to kill them, especially in melee, which is where Elves tend to excel with their high melee defense. But yeah, definitely a worthy pick for the army. He's also got some forces. I think they kind of made a bit of a mistake, and you can see them already coming under fire from a trebuchet. But he's got a couple units of Forest Bladesmen, 1 there, 1 on the other side, and 1 unit of Elder Palace Guard. Everybody loves the Elder Palace Guard. These guys are so deadly. They do not have... Actually, you know what? I think they do have AP now. So they are extremely powerful, and they've got like 5 HP and a lot of melee defense as well. So if you're gonna beat these guys, it's going to be with javelins, or it's going to be with strong archer units. And to top it all off, the Elves have also brought 1 unit of Ballista, although this is not the ideal place for that Ballista to be by any means. Let's move on now to the Elves' closest neighbor. Let's take a look at the army of Dole Amroth, being commanded by Sin of the Dark Cloud, one of the developers for Third Age Reforged. He is bringing 1 unit of White Knights, 2 units of Knights of the Silver Swan. These guys are beautiful heavy shot cavalry. Look at them. They look particularly snazzy with the graphics modification that we're using. I'm sure there will be a link for that for you guys down in the description. But in any case, the Knights of the Silver Swan recently got a buff in the 0.9 patch cycle where they got an extra hit point, which makes them not easy to kill at all. Over here we have a unit of Tirith Air Knights who are already having a very bad day. You can see those Elven archers beginning to fire upon them. But the Tirith Air Knights are... They are everything you'd want a shock cavalry unit to be, except for the fact that they do not have a lot of melee damage. They are AP in melee, strangely enough, but their attack values are quite low. However, their charge value is something like 20, so you want to keep the Tirith Air Knights moving. You always want to keep them charging and try and do as much damage with them as possible before you lose them, because lose them you will. This is a unit that is meant to be in melee and charging as often as possible, which means that they're going to be in danger quite a lot. Moving on now, Sin's also got a couple units of Dole Amroth Men-at-Arms, a very sexy mainline infantry unit, which is actually a similar price but better than the Gondor infantry for the current patch. So definitely a good value pick right there for, I think, about 600 florins. And behind them, we have 2 units of Kallen Knights, 3 HP, a very strong elite pick for Dole Amroth. And to back them up, we've also got a unit way over here on the left flank of Haven Guard. Everybody loves the Haven Guard. These guys can do a lot of damage. They're great at taking down large amounts of weaker foes, but because they don't have AP, they can struggle against more elite units that are more elite cracking focused, like the Gundabad Hammer Guard, for example. So make sure that you deploy them wisely. Sin also has, I believe, 3 units of Belfalas Marines, which is actually a unit that he created himself to fill the gap from the Gondor Dole Amroth split, where the Dole Amroth faction, I believe, lost the Pelargir Marines. So now they have the Belfalas Marines to make up for it. These guys are also AP in melee, as I recall, since they have axes. So they are a very, very good unit. Also, they make decent medium infantry once they've used their Javelin Clutch. Over in the center, we've got 3 units of Delon Halberdiers, yet another new unit that I believe was created by Sid of the Dark Cloud to give Dole Amroth a nice kind of battle line. Not necessarily a pike unit, but definitely a solid AP pick that is very difficult to kill from the front. So yeah, definitely, if you can flank these guys, you're going to want to do it, because they will do a lot of damage to you otherwise, disproportionate to the amount of money it costs to bring them. Sin's also got a couple units of Dole Amroth Men-at-Arms, and 1 unit of Nimrodel Rangers, another AP Archer pick. Like I said, they are few and far between, but the Nimrodel Rangers, I think, are probably the best of them. The only thing they really lack is survivability, because they don't have a ton of armor, but they've got range and they've got decent ammunition, so if you can protect them, then they can do a lot of damage for you. And of course, he's also got a Trebuchet to round off the whole force. Moving on now to the forces of Rune, being commanded by Hung Lo. I believe he's got 3 units of Clan Guard. You can see them marching forward, looking very, very impressive. The Clan Guard are good shock troops. They've got AP and they're anti-cavalry, so I find that they are best in a support role because they are very, very fragile. It does not take much to kill the Clan Guard. You don't want them on the front line. You don't want them in range of missile units because they will die like dogs. He's also got, I believe, 2 units of Loknar Rim, a nice little answer to some of the good factions archer companies. These guys have good range, but they lack the ability to stand up to counter missile fire. I also got a couple units of Lokflag Rim, one of them charging forward here, looking very, very sexy. A nice AP battle line pick for Rune. He's also got, I believe, 1 unit of Scion Rim as well, which is like a 2 HP spear unit. Behind them, we got some Camels Chosen. An AP General's Bodyguard pick for the most part. These guys are a great supplement to your line. They've got good numbers and a lot of damage and stats to back it up. Moving on to the Cavalry, we've got 1 unit of Lokayinas Rim, 1 unit of Camel's Dragon Knights, a new unit in .9. These guys are so deadly. They have been toned down a little bit, and there was a very good reason for that, because they could kill just about anything, but they are still very, very strong. Some of the best cataphracts in the game, in my opinion. Also got 1 unit of Dragon's Wrath Guildsmen, really nice shock troops. Again, I find they work best in a supporting role, but they do have extra HP, so you can have them on the front lines, and they won't just disappear on you. Over here, we've got 1 unit of Catapult, 1 unit of Camel Shadow Guard, who are an anti-infantry. I guess you could say that they're anti-infantry. They've got high melee defense, anti-cavalry, and anti-armor pick for Rune that can hide anywhere. So they're great for setting up ambushes. I think you can get about 2 of them before you get a price increase. There is also a unit of Bodyguard hanging around here somewhere, the mounted Bodyguard, although I don't seem to be able to find them. But they are essentially an analog to the Lokayinas Rim. However, they are AP, as Bodyguard units tend to be in Reforged, and they've got multiple HP as well, which means that they've got way more stamina than the Yinas Rim. So they're definitely a decent pick, and they don't cost a whole lot to bring. So this is a fairly balanced, I think, heavy cavalry force. Moving on now to the 4th and final army, we have the forces of Isengard, who kind of got they got screwed a little bit on their deployment. They're down here in the lowlands, while everybody else is uphill from them. But in any case, they're bringing 1 unit of Uruk-hai archers, 2 units of guards of Orthanc. These, I believe, are the 1 HP version of them. There is a 2 HP version that costs a little bit more and has less numbers in it. So really, you have the option of kind of whether you want to go for quantity over quality. But in this case, the Isengard player in CIL has opted to bring 2 units of the 1 HP guards of Orthanc. He's also got a couple units of pikemen there to form the flanks of his main line. And behind them, we got 3 units of Uruk-hai crossbows, who really just speak for themselves. They're an AP missile pick, and yeah, definitely they're expensive, but they have a lot of armor, and it's great when you can get them into bow range. They can do a lot of damage. We've also got a unit of Ballista, 1 unit of Nazgai, 1 unit of not Uruk-hai Bodyguard, Nazgai Bodyguard, who are actually stronger than the Nazgai, believe it or not. They just have a significantly reduced number of men in the unit. Uruks in the unit, I should say. Also got a couple units of Berserkers, a really, really good shock unit. They've got multiple HP. I think they have like 3 HP. They got a lot of melee defense, but they have next to no armor. I think they have an armor value of like 1 or something like that. So you definitely want to be careful when you get these guys in range of missiles. Also got 2 units of Warg Skirmishers, 1 here, 1 on the other side. And Behind the Nazgûl bodyguard, we got 1 unit of Uruk-hai infantry, 1 unit of trolls of the white hand. Look at them looking very sexy. Some of the best trolls in the game. Actually, I would argue that they are the best trolls in the game. I think they have the highest melee defense value. They have less armor than the Uruk-hai, but they've got better melee defense, which means that they're going to stick around in melee for much longer. And then AP units aren't necessarily as fearsome against them because they don't rely on their armor as much. Also got a, look at that, another unit of Uruk-hai pikemen. We got 3 units of Uruk-hai pikemen, and finally we have a unit of Warg riders to top off the entire force. So that does it for the army compositions. Let's go ahead and let's get into the battle. I hope you guys enjoy it. So as the battle opens, it becomes clear that the Elves and Sin of the Dark Cloud's Dole army have deployed almost in each other's faces. Now, this is a bit of a brutal surprise, I think, for Sin of the Dark Cloud. As you can see, the Elven skirmish line beginning to open fire on his Tirith Knights, who are the closest target to them. I suppose it's better the Tirith Knights than something a little bit more important, like his Knights of the Silver Swan, although they are actually under light fire as well, but I don't think that they're taking the brunt of the AP damage. So Sin of the Dark Cloud's going to have to retreat off those highlands very, very quickly, not wanting to get embroiled in a straight-up fight with the Elves. A very high-tier Elven army, too, so that's not something that you want to engage right off the bat, because the Elves will definitely have the advantage. They've got the stamina, and they've got the melee defense to beat down a mannish army in close combat right off the bat like that. So Sin is actually going to retreat with his entire force as far and as quickly as possible, so that he's not going to be within range of that very deadly and withering Elven skirmish fire. Isengard, on the other hand, Isengard has a very long way to go before they can pose a serious threat to anybody. You can see that they've got quite the ways up here through the foothills in order to get to their closest enemy, and that being the forces of Rune, who are actually falling back up the hill. It looks to me, just based on the movements of the players so far, is that Sin of the Dark Cloud is actually going to find himself surrounded really, really quickly. Looks like Rune is moving in to potentially cut off his retreat. They're going to be able to pin him against the Elven forces over here on the ridge line, and against, of course, his runic army on the highlands above. So Sin is definitely not in a good place right now. He's kind of trapped down here in this little forest dell, and there's not a whole lot of places that he can go. And, of course, Isengard is going to be moving in very, very shortly to close off that noose. And it remains to be seen what Isengard is going to do. Isengard could attack Rune, or they could just go around, avoid that confrontation entirely, and allow his foes to fight each other while he moves in from the rear and will put himself in a position to flank not only Sin, but also the runic army as well. So we'll see. We'll see what he does. If he's going to go straight forward, if he's going to play a bit of a waiting game. Let's see what we got going on over here. It looks like the Elven forces that were just kind of left out here in the cold, now trying to retreat back up that hill. Unfortunately, though, the ballista, definitely the slowest moving piece of this retreating Elven conga line. It has no protection right now. This is a big problem, especially with Sin of the Dark Cloud so close by. I'm sure he wants to avenge the deaths of so many of his Tirith Knights. And so, yeah, these guys are definitely not in a good position. I would have kept those couple units of Bladesmen and the Elder Palace Guard especially, because nobody wants to get into a fight with the Elder Palace Guard. I think that would be an excellent deterrent for escorting his ballista and helping it get up that cliff line towards the rest of the army. Moving on over here, it looks like Rune charging straight up through the forest. I love it. I love the look of this. That runic army just about to emerge out of the tree line onto the top of a ridge behind the Dole Amroth position. This could be very bad for Sin of the Dark Cloud. You can see he's not even responding to it at this point. He's just got his cavalry in the back. He's forming up his infantry, forming up a battle line over here along the front that he shares with the Elven army, albeit much farther away this time. Much to the relief of his men. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sin deals with this, or if there is maybe some kind of alliance between Rune and the forces of Dole Amroth, because Dole Amroth could be firing on them right now, but instead they seem to be focusing their attention up there on the ridge line, definitely wanting to get a little bit of revenge against the Elven forces. So it could be that we've got some politicking here. These two players may have formed a temporary alliance in order to take down some of the larger threats in the area, like the Elves, for example. They're definitely one of the strongest armies on the field, so I could understand that sentiment. Speaking of the poor Elves, you can see them being bombarded here. It looks like Sin of the Dark Cloud is actually going after the Elven cavalry. Not a bad idea. trebuchets definitely got the range to cause a lot of problems for the Elves. The Elves very much in command of this plateau position up here. They've definitely got the strongest position and the army to hold it. Oh, very close there. That could have claimed the lives of some of the Elder Royal Council and some of the Hiri Bang as well. That would have been a nice hit, but unfortunately just wasn't able to connect. But yeah, as I was saying, the Elves definitely have the scariest army in terms of not only positioning, but also the composition to hold the area that they're in. They could hold these heights against just about anything. So we'll see if they decide to discard that advantage and be more aggressive, or if they want to kind of sit up there on the hill like a big bull toad and just wait for people to come to them. We'll see. We'll see. And it looks like Rune is actually moving off. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that there is an alliance between those two players, or that they concluded one very, very hastily, given that Sin is in an extremely compromised position over there in the middle of 3 hostile enemy armies. So maybe, well, let's see what they're doing. It looks like they're moving up the ridge line, which they may be trying to skirt around the Dole Amroth position, and I don't know. Maybe they're going to go for the Elves. Maybe they're going to coordinate their attack with Dole Amroth and just go for it and try and wipe out the Elves on that on the heights up there, and then turn around and deal with Isengard and then deal with each other later. I don't know. It remains to be seen. But yeah, Isengard now slowly getting themselves into position. Just looks like they're actually running uphill, which I disagree with as a general principle. Not a good idea to run your army for long distances, especially up hills, because you will fatigue them very quickly. And once fatigued, your army gets a lot of hidden penalties that you may not even know about, especially to their melee defense, which for your frontline troops can spell disaster. Nonetheless, Isengard going for it, just getting themselves into a space where they're able to attack Dole Amroth. I doubt that Dole Amroth has an alliance with Isengard. Honestly, Isengard is probably the biggest threat to Dole Amroth at this point, since the Elves are just kind of sitting around up there waiting for people to come to them. Isengard is going to be the one who's going to be very aggressive here, and I think Dole Amroth is going to have to they're going to have to deal with them before they can move in on the Elves, and Rune and Dole Amroth can do whatever it is that they appear to be planning to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to fast forward just a wee bit here. And let's see if this ballista is actually going to make it up that hill. They've gotten pretty close. It may be that Sin of the Dark Cloud doesn't see this overextension by the Elven army, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Ballista slowly trudging forward. I can see the rest of Sin's army kind of maneuvering in the background, so it may be at this point that he notices that this is here, and he may be able to do something about it, but I don't know. I suppose that remains to be seen. Oh, well, what do you know? We've got a unit of Tirithir Knights, and it looks like they are hungry. They appear to be beelining straight for that ballista, and there is no Elven support anywhere. The rest of the Palace Guard and the contingent of Forest Bladesmen have made it to the top of the hill, and indeed that Dole Amroth cavalry is making a straight go for the ballista. This is going to be a big deal. If that ballista was up on that hill, the Elves would just be able to sit there for basically ever and destroy anybody who tried to take that entrenched position from them. So this is looking like it's going to be a minor victory for the forces of Dole Amroth. Oh, big charge there into the flank of that Elven ballista crew. At least half of them being cut down very, very rapidly. There's not really a lot that the Elves can do about it. I don't see any support they have up there. Yeah, there's really nothing. Although there's a little bit of damage coming in from the heights. So those Tirithir marksmen really need to move it if they want to take down the rest of that ballista crew. And they're just going to wheel back around, go right for it. Big charge into the ballista crew. And I think that that's going to be the end of them. If they can reduce them down... Oh, man, maybe not. Maybe the Elves can pull this back with that very accurate, withering fire from their elite archers. Although, if they rout... No, I think that's going to be all that she wrote for the ballista crew. Down to 9. I don't know. Maybe they can hold on to it. Looks like Sin of the Dark Cloud is actually just going to throw the rest of that unit in there. Try and kill as many of them as possible. And potentially neutralize that Elven ballista. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward that. It looks like the Elves have been reduced down to a mere 1 ballista crewman. So that's going to be all she wrote for the ballista. It is no longer functional, not having enough crew members to man the artillery piece. Son of the Dark Cloud now moving in, looking like he wants to face Isengard. The Elves have an opportunity here, especially with their command of the heights. They could do a lot of damage to the back lines of Sin of the Dark Cloud, especially as infantry formation who largely rely on their armor. Some of their AP archers could scythe through these guys, and yeah, definitely put a wrench into the plans of Sin of the Dark Cloud. But we'll see. We'll see if the Elves are going to be aggressive enough to do that. So far, they've been pretty content to just be passive. Over here, it looks like the White Knights and the Silver Swans were trying to get a piece of the Warg Riders. I think they managed to do that. Actually, no, these are the Warg Skirmishers. Oh man, that is a deadly, deadly gamble right there. If you can catch them with your heavy cav, you can slaughter them very, very quickly. But if they manage to kite you with those javelins, that's a lot of damage that they can do very quickly. And you're not going to be able to run away with your heavy cav quick enough to avoid these guys. What do we got over here? Looks like another unit of Warg Skirmishers that has taken some pretty heavy casualties. I think that's most of their unit dead out there on the field. But Isengard is... I like this. Isengard is being very aggressive. They're screening the rest of their army with their Warg Skirmishers. And it looks like they managed to get a piece of some Sin of the Dark Cloud's elite cavalry. They didn't kill very many, but they definitely did some HP damage with some of those javelin volleys to the rear. So nice job there on the part of Isengard. Definitely keeping Sin of the Dark Cloud on his toes. Elsewhere, you can see the rest of his infantry moving in ever so slowly. At this point, I think it would be a time to close ranks as quickly as possible. Although, to be honest, he only has Dole archers. Most of these guys are going to be okay taking those on the chin. It looks like Sin of the Dark Cloud is trying to take down his pikemen, which is a very good idea. Pikemen in point 9. Apparently, they didn't get a whole lot of changes. I have actually talked to the developers about this. Apparently, there was not a lot of changes done to the pikemen. But whatever small changes there were have made pikemen very, very deadly. Oh, a nice catapult volley there. Just kind of clipping off the back of the unit. I think most of those, though, were Uruk-hai archers, so the pikes are still intact. But pikes can destroy just about anything from the front, so you need to prioritize them if you're planning to engage them in melee, which really they are going to make an issue of trying to get you to do. Over here we have a sally forward by the Warg Skirmishers. A little bit too bunched up, I would think. It's very easy to get some counterfire in there to take these guys down. They don't have a lot of armor, so that's not hard to do, especially for massed volley fire from these healthy Dole archers. Sin moving forward, looking to riposte with his heavy cavalry, trying to push those Warg Skirmishers back. Looks like the charge these guys get may see them through. Yeah, they are going to kind of lightly clip those Warg Skirmishers, but these guys are just going to run away and toss their jabs backwards and claim the lives of, I'm sure, many of these valiant Dole Knights. Yeah, you can see some of them beginning to fall. And that's exactly how you want to use these guys. You want to get up close, personal, try and get someone to chase you, and then just skirt away from them and kite them and deal as much damage as possible. So really good job there. Really good control of his cavalry on the part of NCAL. Elsewhere, it looks like the infantry are slowly making their way forward. But, oh man, these guards of the Orthanc are really suffering. Look at this. Some volleys coming in, not only from the archers, but, oh, the javelins as well. That is going to cost a lot of guards of Orthanc lives. Oh man, look at that. One of them is now down to 100. I think they started with like 160. So really, a lot of damage has been done to those frontline units already, and they just can't seem to sort their formations out. I don't know what's happening here. It looks like a bit of a miss micro. Maybe he's busy with his Warg Riders. You can see them active on the other side. But he's definitely allowing these guys to get a little bit bunched up, not in the best formation, and they're just taking it from these javelins. Look at this. This is the perfect target. Elsewhere, it looks like the pikes on the other side have gotten themselves isolated, and Sin of the Dark Cloud now feeling confident enough to move in with his Dole man-at-arms. They're going to overrun this pike line. These guys are low numbers at this point and in loose formation. They can't take advantage of their spear wall. That is just going to be brutal, and you can already see them beginning to destroy these guys. Very unfortunate. Isengard Ballista, though, now that I take a look, is active, and it's taking a bite out of Sin of the Dark Cloud's catapult crew. Look at the damage that it has done so far. Although maybe that was from some of the archers, although I don't think so. I think that's straight up the catapult, and I think it's also managed to hit some of these artillery pieces as well, though apparently not at this point. Son of the Dark Cloud moving forward with some of his reserves, looking to... Oh, man. That was a direct hit. I'm surprised that Trebuchet wasn't destroyed, but looking to have his forces in position so that he can overwhelm what remains of the Isengard infantry. And this so far has been very costly for Isengard, although now that I look at the damage that these Warg Riders have done to some of those Knights of the Silver Swan. The Warg Riders AP and anti-cavalry, this is definitely the kind of situation that they excel in. Rear charges against more expensive, more important units. Oh man, these Knights of the Silver Swan are going to have a very bad time. They really want to take down those Skirmishers, though, and I don't blame them. The Skirmishers are very deadly, but now they're unfortunately a little bit surrounded. So I don't know. Maybe the deployment, maybe the time chosen for that attack was not the best one. Artillery fire and archer fire being exchanged on both sides. The Isengarders have now got themselves in position with their crossbows and another unit of archers as well. Though it looks like their skirmish companies are just getting peppered down by Dole Amroth, who's just really not having much trouble dealing with these guys. Speaking of Dole Amroth, though, they may have a little bit of trouble on the horizon. Looks like Rune may be rethinking that alliance. You can see all of their cataphracts and things like that positioned on the ridge above Dole Amroth, just waiting for an opportunity, it seems to me, to betray their allies. So Sin of the Darkcloud has realized what's happened, and he's stationed a unit of Kallen Knights there, who actually look like they got attacked by the Elves, believe it or not. I can see some dead Pathfinders there. So it looks like everyone's just kind of dogpiling on Sin of the Darkcloud, striking out with their cavalry, looking to exploit any weaknesses in his formation and any inattentiveness that may arise from having to fight Isengard at the same time. Guards of the Orthanc really not having a good time. Looks like the Nimrodel Rangers are in there. Maybe they're already out of ammunition. They're backing up the Belfalas Marines, who are having no trouble whatsoever in dealing with the Guards of the Orthanc. Sin now committing his Halberdier companies to see them off just that much faster. Looks like we've had a bit of a breakthrough here. Some of the Belfalas Marines chasing down what appears to be the archer companies. There's some lone work skirmisher here trying to do his best. Sin of the Darkcloud having thoroughly overrun the back lines of Isengard, though, with his cavalry. Look at him just running amok. Got the ballistic crew there trying to flee for their lives, but it looks like they're already wavering. These Knights of the Silver Swan in behind them now. That's going to see them off real fast. Uruk-hai Archers routing a very healthy unit, too. 85 Uruk Archers fleeing for their lives, leaving their Ballista brothers behind. That Ballistic crew now routing. So this has been a costly defeat for Isengard. It's not a total defeat, but it definitely lost him a lot of his important units. He lost his front line fodder, and he lost, I think, basically all of his cavalry at this point, and a significant amount of skirmishers. So that's crippling for Isengard. I think it's going to be very difficult for him to be able to recover from that. Let's see what we got going in the back here. Oh, no, nothing so far. Although I think, no, that's still Rune. There are definitely some elves lurking around here, though. I want to try and keep an eye on them. But in any case, Sin of the Darkcloud now pursuing the Isengard host through the woods, which is basically in full retreat. Look at this. His archers running for their lives, pursued very closely by 32 Knights of the Silver Swan. I think Isengard's going to have to turn around and stand and fight here. Otherwise, Sin of the Darkcloud is just going to continuously overtake his retreat and crash into his rear with his heavy shot cavalry, which is really not what you want to have happen. And it looks like Isengard is doing just that. He's trying to form up very hastily here with his Uruk-hai pikemen to meet that charge. Oh, this has got to be a micro mistake here. Those Knights of the Silver Swan going to get themselves entangled on those pikes. Oh, that is a bad idea. I think Sin of the Darkcloud saw what was happening last minute, but the damage is done. 32 Knights of the Silver Swan just got themselves cut down. Well, not 32. 12 of them got cut down. Significant amount of those very valuable knights that could be used elsewhere in later battles. It's very unfortunate. Isengard getting a small little bit of revenge now for the defeat that Sin of the Darkcloud just handed him up there on the Highlands. Yeah, Isengard very much in command of this one little choke point here. Sin of the Darkcloud, I think, would be ill-advised to try and push the issue any further. Now I think is a good time to try and fall back with what remains of his cavalry, and maybe consider dealing with the Elves. Or with Rune, who's just kind of sitting there in his back lines. I don't really know what Rune is up to. Oh, looks like we've got a big charge over here. Confrontation between the Sylvan Elves and the Runic Cataphract Corps. The Sylvan Elves definitely getting the charge off there, while the rest of the Runic line was kind of sleeping. Oh man, those Loki-Enos Rim just got devastated by the Elder Pathfinders. Elsewhere, though, the Bodyguard and the Campbell's Dragon Knights going to be able to stand up to that charge a lot better. Yeah, those Elven Cavalry this is exactly how you want to use them. You want to charge, pull them out, turn around, charge again. Always keep them moving. Always keep that charge bonus up if you can, especially against superior cataphracts like the Runic Cataphract Corps. All those Camel Dragon Knights actually getting cut down quite quickly by the Elder Pathfinders. That is a big difference in power and resources. The Camel's Dragon Knight's going to pull out of that engagement, try and surround the Elder King's Guard. Token Sun, though, is not having any of it. He's going to pull out of there real quickly. and avoid having his general's bodyguard destroyed by a combination of bodyguards and Camel's Dragon Knights. What remains of the Locaenas Rim, charging in from behind, looking to get a piece of those Elder Pathfinders, and a piece they got, but the Elder Pathfinders, not to be underestimated, definitely did more damage to the Locaenas Rim than the Pathfinders took in return. Elven Cataphracts just fleeing uphill. Look at this, giving themselves a terrain advantage. This is really nice positional play on the part of Token Sun. The rest of his army is just kind of sitting around, but he is definitely being aggressive with his Elven Cavalry. And is definitely showing signs of paying off for him right here. He is doing a lot of damage, just the strongest cav in the game right here. Yeah, man, even the bodyguard can't stand up to the Elder King's Guard. Definitely chose his battles very wisely. Only a few of those Enes Rim now left. The Elder Pathfinders strongly outnumbering the Dragon Knights. That's going to be everything that they need to deal with this elite cavalry unit. They've got the numbers. They can surround them. Everything else has been basically dealt with. Oh, man, that bodyguard trying to get out of there, but taking a charge to the rear by the Elder King Guard. I think that's going to be all she wrote for the Runic bodyguard. Oh, man, they're just surrounded, getting butchered, and that's all of them. They're all extremely dead now. Over here, the Runic Cataphracts just getting outmaneuvered by the Elves at every turn. Looks like some of the Locaenas Rim managed to escape, and they're just kind of enacting some petty revenge on this fleeing unit of Uruk-hai pikemen. But down here, the Camel's Dragon Knights just trying to disentangle themselves. But the constant harassment from the Elder Pathfinders and the Elder King's Guard is just, it's really taking its toll. Look at that. They're down to a mere 17. That's the Runic General right there, just kind of caught out in the field. Nowhere for him to retreat. Looks like he's going to try and get away from there, moving actually towards the Elven army. He has an opportunity to go for the forces of Rune, but I don't think he's going to do that. Speaking of Rune, look at this. Rune has come up onto the highlands, now confronting the Elven army, which is perched up here. So we've got a bit of a two-pronged assault. And I think that's probably what he was trying to do, bring his cavalry up here onto the heights and engage with the main bulk of his army while coming in from the flank and rear with his cataphracts. But unfortunately for him, the Elves were able to shut that down. But this small unit of Dragon Knights looks like they're going to go right for the Elven Skirmishers. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. He's only going to get one opportunity at this, so I hope that it pays off for him. The Hero Neck charging forward, looking to blunt that charge. And indeed they are going to be able to. Nice play on the part of the Elven player. Definitely doing a good job of protecting his lines. You can see the rest of his archers now fleeing behind the safety of those stakes. Oh, those Runic Dragon Knights almost getting themselves stuck up there. Some fire from the Dole Emerald Catapult doing a little bit of damage to the Elves. But ultimately these Dragon Knights not going to be able to do the damage I think that Hung Lo had hoped they would. Yeah, those Hiri Bang. Definitely an able infantry unit. And with the support from the Elder Kingsguard and the rest of the Elven Cav, that's going to be the end for the Runic General. The Elven player just outmaneuvering his foe there. Absolutely beautiful. Hung Lo. I think this is a problem. Maybe the expectation is that he'll be able to just push through the Elven lines before they can form up, and then he'll be able to break the infantry corps. Not a bad idea, but I think he's got enough troops in there to do it. He doesn't need to keep piling in troops like this, which definitely leaves him vulnerable to the Elven Skirmishers. Look at this. This is the perfect target, especially for those AP arrows for these Elven archers. Oh, man, some nice shots coming in from that ballista, actually managing to connect there. Although, strangely enough, only getting a couple kills on the Elves. I guess Eru was with them that time around. Got some Hiri Dirith charging into the battle. We hear the Camels Chosen and the Clan Guard being pulled out of that main engagement because the Elves are moving around. A big flanking attack here from the Elves. Got a couple units of Hiri Dirith with the Elder Palace Guard leading the charge right into the Runic back lines. This is just a disaster for Rune. That's that Clan Guard trying to move over and intercept. They're fast enough to do it. Maybe they'll be able to cut off a unit of Hiri Dirith. No, it looks like they're actually going to miss the mark almost entirely. So the full might of that Elven force. Oh, there goes the Dole Amroth General. Looks like he's actually trying to join the fight against the Elves as well. But those Elder Palace Guard alongside the Hiri Dirith, their full fury is now going to rain down upon these Loknar and these exhausted Runic Skirmishers. Hung Lo just really not having a good time. Nice charge there by the Elves. Those Loknar Rim are going to get slaughtered. Let's go over here and let's see what Dole Amroth is up to. It looks like some of the Knights of the Silver Swan leading the way. I wonder if the rest of the Dole army is going to follow suit. Indeed they are. A couple units of Belfast Marines here, very tired from their fight against Isengard. Now moving up the hill. Let's go ahead and let's slow it down just a little bit so we don't miss what's going on. But you can see a full commitment here, I think, from Dole Amroth. Actually, no, not their full strength. They're actually leaving some forces down here to deal with what I presume is the remnants of Isengard, who have now regrouped in the forest below, no doubt plotting their revenge. But we'll see what they get up to. For now, let's move back up here and see what happens to the rest of the Dole Amroth army. Apparently the same thing that happened to the Runic army. The Elves being very aggressive with their cavalry, getting a lot of payoff. A charge into those Dole Amroth Belfast Marines has really just devastated them. Look at that. That's like hundreds of men dead on the ground right there. Over here, the rest of the Belfast Marines trying to scoot around the formation, where there's still more Elven cavalry just lurking in the area like a shark, hungry for blood. There we go, the Elder Kingsguard charging into the flank of those Belfast Marines. Gonna get a nice charge. Oh man, not as devastating as the charge from the Pathfinders earlier, but definitely the Belfast Marines are not equipped to fight that elite General's Bodyguard unit. Dole Amroth moving up to try and save his Marines with his Kallen Knights, but they're actually going to get charged in the rear by some Pathfinders. Really nicely coordinated attack here by the Elves. I have to say I'm very, very impressed by this. This is actually going to claim the lives of some of the Kallen Knights and flatten that unit of Belfast Marines, and they're just going to pull right out as quickly as possible. Really, really good move. I see why. The Haven Guard have now arrived, so maybe things aren't going to be quite so easy for the Elves as they were previously. Let's see how things are going over here. The Elves managing to pull things back. A lot of this Runic infantry is just getting butchered by the Elves in melee. This is where the Elves excel, and if you can avoid it, you don't want to fight on your enemy's terms. And the Elves definitely at home in melee. They've got high melee defense, decent enough armor values, but yeah, the strength of their infantry is definitely located in their melee defense. In behind the Runic position, we've now got the Elven cavalry trying to deal with some of these forces. Looks like I actually missed a unit in the army breakdowns. Rune's actually got some Dragon's Wrath crossbows. These guys are deadly. So I got some javelin volleys coming in from what remains of some of the Sapphire Bladesmen, so I missed a couple units. But these deadly skirmishers, I think, are going to be a real problem for the Elves. Looks like they're lining up their sights on the Elder Kingsguard. Are they going to be able to get it off? Oh, they are! Oh, that is devastating. The Elder Kingsguard going down from 36 to 20, less than 20. Oh, that was 20 of his Elder Kingsguard, which he's managed to preserve to this late point in the battle, dead in the space of a volley. That is the damage that the Dragon's Wrath crossbows can do. They've also got some special ammunition as well, so that can light things on fire. Looks like the Runic catapult over here got flattened earlier, probably because of the Elves. It doesn't seem like Dole Amroth and Rune have really been inclined to fight each other, so I'm going to assume that it's the Elves because they're the only ones with functional cavalry left at this point. Looks like the Sapphire Bladesmen getting a nice volley here into the Elder Kingsguard. The Elder Kingsguard is going to pass them by almost completely, and instead, I think they're going for the rear of those Dragon's Wrath crossbows, who are now focusing on the main body of Elven infantry. So they got hung up a little bit on a unit of Routing Scion Rim. I don't know. I would definitely be using these guys for hammer and anvil strikes. I think this is a mistake on the part of the Elves. They could just flatten the Runic army right now, or at least they could have when they had control of the field. But now I think most of their cavalry is very heavily reduced. All these Pathfinders have been suffering quite badly because of the presence of the Skirmishers up there, who are not quite done. You can see there's still a reasonable amount of Skirmishers. The Elven infantry is only just getting around to dealing with them, and the Elven cavalry have definitely paid the price for that. Down here, the Elves doing very well against Rune, but Rune's starting to pull it back now. With the addition of Dole Amroth, I think maybe this was the plan the entire time. Take down the Elves who are sitting on top of that hill, and then sort the rest of the game out later. Alluro Council, presumably out of ammunition, fighting hard against Haven Guard and Kallen Knights. They seem to be doing well enough. They actually got some Hero Next support in there as well. It's a reasonable matchup for the Haven Guard and the Kallen Knights. Although I think the Dole Amroth infantry is going to win out eventually. Dole Amroth men-at-arms coming in from the rear. It's a nice move, but I think they're all too exhausted for this to really have the payoff that Sim wants. Over here we got some Talon Guard. Oh man. Oh, be careful. That was very close for the Elder Pathfinders. Yeah, these Talon Knights now moving into the rear, looking to completely encircle the Elven infantry. This is a very bad thing for the Elves, but it looks like gonna slow it down just a little bit. I think we have a little bit of movement on the part of Isengard. Looks like Isengard has kind of pulled up their bootstraps, now moving towards Sin of the Darkcloud, who's already begun to open fire on them. Oh, those Nazgai! Oh, that is devastating. A very elite shock infantry unit there, just getting flattened by a shot from Sin's Trebuchet. You can see more and more fire coming in from that artillery piece, which has really proved to be a bit of a menace. Artillery pieces are literally hit and miss in every sense of the words. When they hit, they hit well, they can change games, but sometimes they'll end up just being an empty investment. They are quite expensive, and they don't always pay off for you. But so far, killing all of those Nazgai, that's a big deal for Sin of the Darkcloud's forces. He's definitely going to need to thin these guys out if his Dole Amroth, his very thin on the ground Dole Amroth forces up there in the ridgeline are going to prevail. But let's move on back to this main fight here. Look at this. It looks like the Elven infantry has been completely flattened. Sin of the Darkcloud is now almost broken completely through the Elven lines and is actually touching the Runic lines. Look at this. Charge coming in from the rear. Elder Pathfinders into the Kallen Knights, into the Haven Guard. Let's see if that actually pays off for them. No, those Haven Guard and those Kallen Knights, definitely not a unit that is going to be easily beaten by these cavalry, these exhausted and outnumbered cavalrymen. Those Elder Pathfinders trying to get out of there, but they're just trapped, and so many of them are getting cut down. Very unfortunate. I think that he did a great job with his cav, but definitely at the end here, he needed to prioritize dealing with the Runic army. If he could have done that, then he would have been in a great position to wheel back around and overwhelm the exhausted and outnumbered forces of Dole Amroth. But as it is, the forces that got sandwiched, which is the majority of them, have been completely destroyed. He did have his reinforcements up there, a couple units of Hiri Dirith, and his Elder Palace Guard, which have now moved down to support the rest of the army, but he's still got a lot of forces to carve through, and this could have been a lot better for the Elves. Oh, look at this. Nice hammer and anvil coming in from the rear. What remains of the Elder King's Guard and the Pathfinders getting a piece, but I think it's too little, too late. Yeah, definitely too little, too late. So that's going. Let's take a look on the lowlands. Sin of the Darkcloud still firing at the Isengarders as they move quickly through the woods. The Skirmishers leading the way. The Isengard infantry still quite numerous. Surprising. Look at this. Isengard still has an army left. Probably the strongest army, strangely enough, left on the battlefield now that the other three factions have basically exhausted themselves fighting one another. This is a nice time to intervene on the part of Isengard. I'm sure he'll get a lot of flack for this, for staying out of the fight, but he was aggressive, and Sin shut him down. So, yeah, now he's going to be able to potentially pull back the game, believe it or not. Sin of the Darkcloud now trying to get his army in line to deal with this advance from Isengard. Stronger, I think, than he believed. Wasn't able to deal the completely crippling blow to Isengard that I think he would have preferred. And now he's got to deal with the consequences. These 3 units of Delon Halberdiers, a little bit of Cav, and a couple units of Dole Amroth archers, and it looks like the Nimberdale Rangers as well, who are out of ammunition. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think with the Nazgai, both the bodyguard and the regular unit, the pikemen, the infantry, and the trolls have not even been tested yet. Yeah, I think that's not going to be easy for Sin of the Darkcloud's forces down here to deal with. I think maybe leaving these guys down here to deal with Isengard might have been a mistake. I would have potentially put them up on the hill. Better place for them to be by far. Although obviously that does leave them vulnerable to the Elves who hadn't been dealt with at that point. So maybe that's a little bit of hindsight. But yeah, down there in the lowlands, they're going to have a really, really hard time against that Isengard elite corps. Up here, it looks like Rune has been completely defeated. Dole Amroth trying to surround the Elves, trying to deal as much damage as possible. But at this point, all they're doing is hastening the victory of Isengard. Let's fast forward just a little bit. I think with the presence of the Elder Palace Guard, the Elves are going to be able to pull it back, but this is going to be devastating. There's going to be almost nothing left of that once proud Elven force.
Defeat seems almost only half our force remains.
Yeah, and I think that definitely comes down to how he used his cavalry once he engaged the forces of Rune. Fast forward just a little bit more. Yeah, I think the Elves definitely going to come out on top in this, but it's going to be close. Moving down here, it looks like Sin little bit of chaos in his lines here, maybe trying to surround those Uruk-hai pikemen, which he has done admirably, doing a lot of damage to them. Up here, it looks like some of the Uruk-hai infantry have actually managed to get in amongst the archers, butchering the Dole archer unit. Very unfortunate, but they're now being attacked from the rear by the Delon Halberdiers. That is not going to be a fight, I think, that the Uruk-hai infantry win very easily. The Halberdiers are AP, and once they're in formation, it's not easy to beat them, although they are a bit scattered at the moment. So we've got some Berserkers. The Berserkers coming into this little, like, pocket of Dole Delon Halberdiers. Really the perfect place for them to be now. This entire flank is surrounded, and as it begins to crumble, the rest of them are going to be surrounded as well. And I think Sin realizes that, so he's trying to pull back, trying to reform. Oh, but this Halberdier unit is just in really bad shape. Down here, it looks like the Delon Halberdiers trying to get in amongst the Skirmishers. Another unit of them over here, fighting with the Trolls of the White Hands. I don't think the Delon Halberdiers, out of formation like this, do not have a chance of beating those Trolls. Those Trolls are going to hack them down left and right. So the Nosgai in there as well. Very tired Nosgai, but Nosgai nonetheless. And these out of formation Delon Halberdiers are really just going to suffer, I think. There's a little bit of hope for them in the form of these Halberdiers who have managed to reduce these pikemen down to very, very little. And the pikes are now being held in place with that trebuchet. But I think for the Dole forces down here, this is going to be the end. The cavalry over here, the Knights of the Silver Swan, trying to get away from those Trolls. But those Trolls a little bit too fast. Sin's just not going to be able to get away. Oh, look at them just breezing right through that cavalry. Very unfortunate. A unit of even 4 Knights of the Silver Swan getting a decent charge into those Trolls might have killed realistically maybe 2 or 3 of them. But still, that is a victory. And there goes the Dole cavalry. The last real advantage they had down here. Sin opening fire with what remains of his Dole archers into the flank of those Uruk-hai infantry. These Halberdiers, though, just melting away. Dole archers ready to pick up where those Halberdiers left off, but against Berserkers and Uruk-hai infantry, especially as numerous as they are, that is not going to be a fun time for those Dole archers. So I think it's fair to say that Dole has been beaten at this point. A large number of Delon Halberdiers now routing. 44 of them. Over here, another 47 looking to rout as well in the face of those Nosgai. I think Dole is definitely out of the game at this point. Oh man, so many crossbows left. 120. I think Isengard is in a wonderful position to win this. There's really nothing left that can stop them at this point. Let's take a look at how things are going up here. Yes, the Elves managed to come out on top, but look at this. What do they have left? They've got a little bit of cav. Maybe that'll be enough to kill the Trolls or something, but there's still a lot of pikes left. Still a lot of elite units like the Nosgai. I don't know. Maybe the Elder Palace Guard can beat them. Oh, just devastating, though. So basically, Rune is gone. Dol Amroth is in the process of evaporating. It's coming down to Isengard and the Woodland Realm in this late period of the game. Look at that. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and let's speed this up. Their demise definitely certain. You can see the rest of the Dole Amroth Halberdiers routing or in the process of routing. Yeah, they're going to be gone after that. Down from 20 to 8. Getting focused down by those crossbows. So many Berserkers left. So many Berserkers. There's no way the Elves are going to be able to do this. No way. I'm calling it now. And it looks like Dole Amroth has been dealt with. So Isengard reforming and getting ready to tackle his final challenge. Let's see what the Elves are going to do about it. Actually, looks like there's some Haven Guard down here that Dole Amroth managed to preserve. So they're not completely gone yet. But maybe they're teaming up with the Elves. That appears to be the case. Some Hine Dower up here on the hill. All the remains of the proud Elven skirmish force. I don't know what happened to their skirmishers, honestly. Looks like they got shot to death? I'm guessing that they got shot to death. Yeah, they must have. That must have been what happened. Or they ran out of ammunition and they were forced to be committed to melee and got sandwiched between Dole Amroth and Rune. So really all that's left is the Hine Dower. These are AP missiles. Let's see what they're going to shoot at. Hopefully not the Haven Guard. I see what they're doing. I would definitely save that ammunition for the elites, though. You're going to need that AP ammo to try and even the score in terms of the infantry fight, because that is where this is going to be decided. Maybe he's worried about the Uruk-hai crossbows. I think that's fair to say. The crossbows are definitely a big problem. If you can't kill the crossbows, then they'll just shoot down what remains of his army. All those Haven Guard getting in there with the Uruk-hai archers, but just getting shot by the crossbows. So that one lone Haven Guard's been trudging right into that bodyguard. He just got flattened immediately. Very unfortunate for him. Isengard now free to move up towards the hill position occupied by the Elves. Yep, not much left. Isengard is just going to go for it. I mean, why wait? Why wait? Why let the Hine Dower do their bloody work? Just go for it. Yeah, managing to deal with the skirmishers fairly handily. He's done a lot of damage to the crossbows. There must have been a lot of ammunition left on those Hine Dower. No! No! Don't charge them in! Save them! This is not worth it! Oh, that is very sad. Yeah, definitely not worth it. Those Hine Dower could have been okay in a support role for the rest of the army, but that is certainly a waste, I think, in my opinion. What do we got going here? Some Uruk-hai crossbows. Probably still have ammo. Oh, looks like the Elven Cavalry, the deadly Elven Cavalry, moving forward to deal with them. But a timely charge from the Trolls of the White Hand is going to flatten the Elder King's Guard, taking down the General with them. The rest of the Elder Pathfinders now routing the Elven Cavalry. That was their ace in the hole right there. Now gone. Winded unit of Elder Palace Guard looking to engage those Trolls. Doesn't look like the Trolls are terribly interested, though. I don't blame them. Oh, the Elder Palace Guard are going to manage to connect. Getting into the back of those Trolls, you can already see them beginning to cut them down. These Trolls of the White Hands, not a match for Elven Infantry. Trolls in general, because of the high melee defense on Elven Infantry, are just not very good. The Elven commander just charging all of his forces right in there, not bothering to space them out at all. I think that that's going to be a problem, and Isengard could very easily move in there for a surround and catch the Elven forces out. Although this is not a bad idea. If he can move in there, be very aggressive, cut down these troops before they can bring the entire strength to bear, maybe he has a chance at defeating the army piecemeal, although it's a very, very slim chance, I will say. Big charge from the rear now from the Trolls of the White Hand. Oh, that is going to suck for the Hiri Dirith. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you can see them dying. Very, very unfortunate. Looks like the Berserkers kind of on a scouting mission. Maybe they were afraid that there were some hidden Elven units somewhere, which, honestly, a wise decision. The Elves are quite sneaky, and they can hide just about anywhere, especially in forested regions like this. So, yeah, not a bad play there from that NCIL at all. The rest of the Isengard forces now being committed to this fight. This is what I was worried about. Committing all your forces in this big blob is going to allow you to be surrounded. Although I guess the Elven player doesn't really have a ton of options because he's just so depleted at this point. You can see how just one mistake can change the course of a battle. I think if he had used his cavalry a little bit more effectively in the late game against Rune and Dole Amroth, then he might have had more of an army here to contest the victory with Isengard. But as it stands, Isengard is going to come out on this on top. Very, very well done. Surprising, Isengard got beat badly early on in the game and then had to retreat and bide their time in order to wait for the playing field to level a little bit. And they chose their moment very, very well. The Elder Palace Guard now not able to stand up to all of these elite units. The Berserkers and the Trolls from the rear. Nazgai on the other end. And still some Uruk Pikes moving in. Dealing quite handily with these elite Elven warriors who are now completely surrounded. Look at this. Very, very unfortunate. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to fast forward it right there. More of those Trolls of the White Hand going down. The Elves not going down without a fight. Especially those Palace Guard. Those Palace Guard do not flee. Look at that. That is beautiful. Not very many of them left. Only 3, 2. I think that's it. The last Palace Guardsman has fallen and Isengard has emerged victorious. It cost them most of their army, and damn was this devastating. But Isengard has managed to do it. So congratulations to NCIL. Definitely chose his moments very wisely, and I think he certainly deserves this victory. But let's just take a look at some of the carnage. So much devastation all over the battlefield. It's a beautiful sight to see. Beautiful. Alright, let's go ahead and let's fast forward it, get to the casualty screen, and see exactly how well Isengard has managed to do. I think the Elves definitely going to come out on top in terms of kills. That makes the most sense to me, because they basically killed 2 armies almost single-handedly. What's that? What are they under attack by? What could possibly be shooting them? Oh my god!